Determine the y-intercept of each of the following quadratic functions. Then we've got two quadratic functions here, a and b. Well, in order to determine the y-intercept, let's quickly review what a quadratic function is. A quadratic function takes the form of y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are constants and a is not equal to 0. And let's also review what a y-intercept is. The y-intercept is the point at which any given graph of a function passes through the y-axis. So for instance, we might have a quadratic function that looks like this. And the y-intercept will be this point here. This will be the y-intercept. And one of the important things that we know about a y-intercept is the y-intercept always has an x-coordinate of 0. So consequently, in order to find the y-intercept of any quadratic function, we can substitute x equals 0. So substitute x equals 0. X equals 0. And once we've substituted x equals 0, we just solve for y. So let's do that here for this hypothetical general form of a function. So here we'd have y equals a times 0 squared plus b times 0 plus c. Well, 0 squared is going to be 0, and anything times 0 is 0. Also, b times 0, that's going to equal 0. So all we'll have here is 0 plus 0 plus c, 0 plus 0 plus c. This is just going to simplify to c, y equals c. In other words, the y-intercept here, this is going to be the point 0, c, for any function in this general form, any quadratic function in this general form. In other words, in order to find the y-intercept, you could go through the trouble of substituting x equals 0 and then solving for y, or alternatively you could just figure out what the constant term is. In other words, the term that doesn't have an associated x squared or x. If we figure out what the constant term is, we know that that is going to be the y-intercept. So here, let's look at a. We've got y equals x squared minus 2x minus 3. So we could do what we did just here, which is substitute x equals 0 to find the y-intercept, and then we'd get y equals 0 squared minus 2 times 0 minus 3. 0 squared is going to be 0, 2 times 0 is going to be 0, so this is going to turn out to be 0 minus 0 minus 3, and this will be minus 3. So y equals minus 3. So again, we'd say that the y-intercept here, the y-intercept, we have to put it in a coordinate form, this would be 0 minus 3. This would be our final answer. Well, we could have gone through these steps, but a quicker way to do it would simply be to say, well, the constant term here is minus 3. So consequently, I know that we know that the x value is always going to be 0, the y value will be minus 3 here. So let's apply it to this second one. Here we've got b, y equals 3x squared plus 6x plus 1. Well, again, we could substitute x equals 0 in here, but we know that the y-coordinate is going to, the x-coordinate of the y-intercept is going to be 0. All we need to do is figure out the y-coordinate. Well, the y-coordinate is just going to be this constant. The constant here is plus 1. So the constant is going to be 1. Consequently, this is going to be the y-intercept of this function. So, to review, if you're ever facing a quadratic function, you need to find the y-intercept. Remember that the x-coordinate is going to be 0, and the y-coordinate of the y-intercept is going to be the constant term.